Planning a challenge today by a landowner who claims her property values have been steamrolled by bureaucratic nonsense. Now, 9 wants to know what the Maryland National Capital Park Planning Commission is going to do about that. Our investigation into how the agency's allegedly been standing in the way of African-American families trying to develop or sell their historic land continues tonight, with Scott Broom making a surprise visit to agency headquarters.
I'm here at the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission to see if Mrs. Lorena McCants can get what all the rest of us have, an address.
Can't do anything without an address.
That's Mrs. McCants and her supporters headed inside to try and push this case forward after 7 long years of other property owners fighting and losing. A David and Goliath matchup with a giant land planning bureaucracy.
And I'd like to apply for an address for it.
Mrs. McCants is among an enclave of African-American property owners in Sandy Spring, Maryland, who have land along this historic access called Farm Road. The road dates back more than 100 years, but it was eliminated from official land records when this new development, built in 2002, was approved by Park and Planning, in a deal landowners allege involved intentionally false surveys. And while developers got extra building lots and the agency got a conservation easement, original landowners like William Rounds claim they got the shaft.
My family and I have been paying taxes for 100 and some years.
Rounds' plans to build sidelined for 7 years now by bureaucrats who refuse to give him an address for an access road they erased, even though one section is still there, and even though some other landowners have addresses for the road. Which brings us to Mrs. McCants, who asked for her own address today for family land on Farm Road, and she was told to wait.
I'm asking you to give me 30 days. I cannot answer your questions. I do not have answers to your questions.
McCants went to the chairperson's office and got an impromptu meeting with officials, who stunned everyone here by saying the agency has no rules to justify its actions.
Are there any rules or regulations that the commission has to help someone like her understand what her administrative remedies are?
I don't know what the appeal process is, if there is an internal appeal process. We don't have any specific directive, or I guess you would call them instructions.
Steve Canstrom is the founder of SaveSandySpring.org, which is assisting the landowners.
Why can some people along that road have addresses and others not? When there's no written rules or regulations, that just doesn't make any sense.
It seems like an agency that doesn't have all their ducks in a row. It's just mind-boggling.
So to summarize, what we learned today is that a big bureaucracy like this one can tell somebody like Mrs. McCants to wait, or to tell somebody like Mr. Rounds no, but it has no rules or regulations to justify its actions. And what's really infuriating about this is that when some other landowners have taken Park and Planning to court on this issue, Park and Planning's lawyers have beaten them by arguing that the landowners failed to exhaust their administrative remedies. Administrative remedies, we learned today, apparently don't exist. At Park and Planning headquarters in Silver Spring, Scott Broom, WUSA9.
Oh, certainly an ironic point there, Scott. Now, we should also note this has been a very complex WUSA9 investigation, so we want to get you up to speed on some of the highlights of what we've been talking about on this, and we've been talking about it since early last month. First of all, we've heard allegations that a Rockville engineering firm submitted intentionally misleading documents to get the approval that wiped the historic access known as Farm Road off of the official records. There are also claims by the former Inspector General of Montgomery County that Maryland Attorney General Doug Gansler shut down investigations into all this. The Attorney General says not so, and he denies it strongly. And there are also allegations that Park and Planning's top lawyer used backroom influence with state officials to reverse a critical map correction that would have helped those landowners. And now, the apparently arbitrary bureaucracy at the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, which landowners claim has steamrolled their property rights.
It's complicated.